Hi guys, you're welcome to another episode of Android Programming. We'll be talking about Android Material Vector Graphics. Android Studio includes a tool called Vector Asset Studio that helps you add material icons and import scalable vector graphics and Adobe Photoshop Document files into your project as vector drawable resources. Using vector drawables instead of bitmaps reduces the size of your APK because the same file can be resized for different screen densities without loss of image quality. So I'll be moving straight to Android Studio where I'll be creating a demo whereby we'll talk about how to integrate how to use the vector graphics, and we're going to actually use the Vector Asset Studio right in Android Studio where we will be importing the material icon and also SVG file. You can also import PSD as well. I will actually be showing you how to do this and how to integrate those drawable into your application. So moving straight to Android Studio, I'll create a new project. I'm going to call it Vector Graphics. Click Next. The API, the minimum API also matters when you are building for a lower version. Most especially, the vector graphics supports API level 21, and higher, whereby you can use the animator vector drawable, and you can also use the animator vector drawable compact, to actually make this work smoothly. So if you want to use vector drawables only, you can also use the Android support library 23.2 or higher. This technique requires a change to your build Gradle. Probably you need to do some tweak and make it work. The vector drawable compact class in the support library allows you to support vector drawable in Android 2.1, that's API level 7 and higher. So let's stick with API 15, and we can also do some tweak later on and click Next. I'll go for the empty activity so that we can actually do something on our own. Or let me go for the basic activity where I'm going to have the content main right inside there. So let me have that. So we're going to have a floating action button as well. Click Finish. So the structure for the phone and tablet is right there on the way. There is something. The dependencies are fine. The app compat version 7 is okay, which will actually be built alongside Android Studio. So we actually head straight to running the Vector Asset Studios after the project might have been structured. That's fine. So let me go to the project window. To go to the project window right there in the res, which is the resources. This is where you actually launch the Vector Asset Studio right in Android Studio. You right click on this particular folder, you go to let's wait for the build indexing to actually finish building up, so that we'll be able to have that right there. Now when you go to the new, you come over here, can you notice the vector asset? This is where we are going to. So you click on this vector asset, you have the Vector Asset Studio. So right there, we have the ability to import material icon or local SVG file. So let's start up with a material icon. Click on the choose icon to actually select the kind of icon you want. You see different icons over here, whereby you can easily pick from the action, alert, communication, content, and so on, even image. So this is just for all, so you can actually scroll through them to select the desired icon. So I can easily just select this, which is like a spanner. So click OK to actually get that fixed right there. Can you see the resource name? IC_build_black 24 dp. You can actually change the color using the Android int. We'll get to talk about that later on. So you can also resize, and you can change, you can reduce the opacity, you can make it lighter, or you can also maintain the default opacity, which is 100. So click next. You have it, the target module, the rest directory, which is the source main rest, sure. So it's actually going to sit in the drawable and called IC black build black 24 dp, and it's actually going to generate XML. Not, you're not going to be working directly with a picture, you're going to be talking to the XML. So this particular picture will generate its XML markup. So click on finish. You have that right there, so we can easily go through this by clicking on the drawable. Can you see the IC build black 24 dp? Click on this, you notice the XML file. This, it has the width of 24 dpi, 24 dp, and look at the path, the fill color, and also the path data. You know, this is what you will need to tweak if you want to tweak the material icon, you know, the path data, the fill color, and some other things. So that's just how to actually import a vector graphic material icon right inside your project. So let's us do something again. Let's try to import the SVG. You know, you also go through the same step you went through earlier, vector asset. Now you're going to click on the toggle button, which is the local SVG file, and you have the ability to search for the particular file, which I have like two vector SVG file right sitting in my picture directory. So you have to search for that anywhere it might be on your computer. It should be the home picture. I have it in the picture. I have these two SVGs, so let's try one out. You have this, it has an empty preview image, more to actually see what's happening. For input string, exception while passing, you must make sure that this works. You know, definitely there's the SVG is not passing the requirements, you know. So let's click OK. Let's try the second SVG file. Maybe that will pass the requirements. That's fine. The second SVG file is fine and okay. Can you see the picture, you know, right, showed? So after this, you can increase the opacity as well, decrease rather, and you can also increase it, you know, or maintain. You can even change the size, but I would like that by overriding the default size from material. You can see this actually the real size of the SVG, which is 377 by 519. But don't let us override it. It's always advisable for you to have to not have SVG file or material icons which will actually be a vector graphic. It should be over 200 by 200 pixels. That's 200 width and 200 height. So that's not really advisable. So let's stick to the 24 by 24 just to make it small and cute. Click next. Can you see we have it right in the drawable as maker.xml? So click finish to have that as well. You see there? So that is, you see what was generated. It contains very long lines. Such graph were forcibly enabled to improve editor preference, right? So can you see what this generates? The SVG generates the path and so on. You know, you can make reference to this. Definitely I'll be explaining on how to make reference to the material icon and also the SVG, you know, right in your layout files. So that's what we'll be doing from here. So let's try to make reference to this. Back to the layout, move to the layout. We have the activity main, which is, let's say, the preview over here. There's the up bar and the toolbar. We have an include, which is the layout content main. That's where we'll be looking at precisely. So we have that right set. So you can do this by by typing the markup or the XML code, or you can do this using the design by clicking and dragging right into the space. So that's just these two ways you can actually work with XML files. But I'll actually be writing the code right in. So I want to have something of this nature, the image button. So I want to represent the image button with the material vector graphics. So layout width and height, wrap content, that's fine. I'm actually going to take away this just to make it sit there. Now I'm going to call on the app up there, right there, app source compact equals to the drawable, and I'll be pointing to the IC underscore build black. Can you see it there? Showed. Can you notice that? Now it's the button. Bye bye. I might call on tools, layout, editor, absolute x, which will be equals to 11 dB. We're going to have these as well, but now it's going to be y, x and y coordinates. Let's change that to y, which will be equals to 225 dB. That's fine. You can assign an ID to this. Definitely, if you want to actually call it programmatically right there in your Java class. So you need an ID to reference this particular image button. ID image button. Just that. And you can add a tint. You know, the default color is black. You can decide to add a color on it. For you to add a color on this, you need the Android tint, not just color, you know. Once you call on the tint, it's going to specify a layer color right on what you are actually doing. So that's the essence of the tint. Now I'm going to call color accent. Add red tint, color accent, right there. So just a rendering problem, but actually the tint is being applied to this particular material icon. So we can just easily take that out to just make it the view still look simple. But now I'm going to create an image view so that we'll be able to call the SVG file now, you know. So let me call on the image view. Image view. Which is this. Layout with night wrap content. Now I'm going to actually let it stay below the image button, you know, so that it's not going to be overlapping. So I have to actually make that. So I'm going to call the Android layout below. So specify the ID, which is image button. Stay below that image button. Let me add the margin bottom so that There'll be some breathing space at the bottom. That's a 15 dp. That's cool. So now I'm going to actually call the source of this image view. I'm going to call Android source, which is equals to, I'm going to call a drawable maker. Can you see it? Quite small, but that's just it, because that's, we actually make it to be like a material icon. So let me specify that, no problem. Wrap content, but that's just how it looks. A zoom, make sure you see it. Can you see this? You can actually use it as a button, so that it's actually going to fit in with the material design flow. That's why it's quite small. We make it 24 by 24 pixels, so that's fine. So that's just how to display the material icon using the vector graphics and also SVG file, but you can also make reference to this particular drawable programmatically, if you actually want to use it in the Java code. So let's talk about how to modify XML code generated by Vector Access Studio. Now, if you are trying to make a tweak of the XML code generated, you go straight to drawable and double click on the particular vector. If you should notice, we have the width and height of 24 dp. You can easily change this. Probably you want it larger. Let's give it 100 by 100 dp. As you have it larger, let's get to look at that in the content main. So can you see it's quite large now? That's far better. So let's try to make a trick of the maker SVG as well. Let's increase to 100 just to make it more visible. 100. You can easily make a tweak if you really understand the part data, but I would advise you to just tweak colors alone. This is white and this is word blue, this is for blue. No, this is white. Let me make a change of blue, probably to wine. I have a color called H00 is wine. Can you see that? It's actually changed this color. So this is how to make edits of the XML code generated. If you should notice the stroke line, just take your time to do a tweak of it, and see what it actually is. So you can actually make a painting, a different painting of a particular SVG file. The same thing goes for the material icons as well. Can you see this? It's actually a fill color of black. You can change it to wine as well. Can you see this? It's changed. So instead of you referencing the int, you may not need to reference int to change the background. You just come straight to the XML file and change the color. That's where I will actually advise and recommend to change. Don't touch the path data. You might distort it, or you might change something that you may not be able to recover again. So it's better you just make a tweak of the color, change the size, the height and the width, and also you can also change the viewport. That's the shadow that is being casted from it. So that's just how to go about importing vector graphics into your application, and also you use them up as a drawable. You can use it in the image button, you can use it as an image view file. So this is just how to go about it, and I implore you to use vector graphics for small graphics, because it's quite smaller and it's favorable to use than using a bunch of PNG files or JPEG, which is larger, and can actually make your APK voluminous or bigger or slow to load. Thank you very much for hanging out with me throughout this tutorial, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a pleasant time. Bye bye.